Hey guys, how you doing? So this is going to be a response to my good friend Bluetonic78. It's absolutely freezing today. Oh, so cold. And yeah, so Alex put a video up. It's his latest Wednesday week video, which I thought was really interesting because he made some absolutely great points this week. And I just wanted to respond to his points basically and give my opinion on what I think. And the first thing he was talking about was, oh god, it's so cold. It was current gen gaming. And like, you know, in relation to online gaming, DLC, you know, basically the way that the companies are trying to rip off the gamer and try and get as much money as they possibly can out of us, which, you know, you have to expect because they are corporations, so that's fine. I do recognise that. Yeah, so my point of view basically is this, is when it comes to current gen gaming, I've always seen current gen gaming, that's the way I've seen every console I've ever had since I was a kid, or computer when I was really young. And that is that I'll just buy the game, and to me the game is the single player experience. That is the game. The multiplayer is just an additional bit of content that if you want to play it you can, that's fine. And you know, in theory multiplayer online gaming is a great idea and it's fantastic, and it brings people together from different backgrounds and different communities, and you know, we all become one big happy family. In reality we all know that's absolute bullshit because that doesn't happen. Essentially what happens is if you don't play with friends and you just play with people from around the world, not always, but I'd probably say about 80% of the time, maybe a little bit higher, you are going to find dickheads who just want to abuse you and shout swear words at you. They want to whistle down the microphone because they're very young and immature and they think it's funny and it's just irritating as hell. They want to play music down the microphone. They want to have arguments with people in the room with them. You know, there's all kinds of different things. You know, and it just gets frustrating. And you just think, what's the point of playing online if this is what you've got to deal with? Whereas, like Alex said, when you play with friends, it's fantastic because, you know, if you've got a group of friends who you know, you can have a laugh with it. You know, you can play like Call of Duty and you can chase each other around the map and shoot each other, and no one gets offended, no one takes it seriously. It's just a bit of fun, and that's the way it should be. I've always thought the best way of playing online games as well is co-op mode. You know, Gears of War is a prime example. To play through the campaign with a friend in co-op online is one of the coolest things ever, and I think that really works well and lends itself well to the multiplayer experience. For me though, as I say, I've always treated games on any system from when I was young to now the same. I always go for the single player experience, and I've never been interested really in the multiplayer. The multiplayer I've occasionally dabbled with in the past. On the original Xbox I played Halo 2 a fair bit, but that was mostly with friends. I didn't really play with randoms. On the 360 I've played a lot of Call of Duty 2 and a bit of Halo 3 online. I was crap at Halo. But yeah, that was, you know, Call of Duty 2 I played a lot of randoms, and I'd say at that time, back in 2005, 2006, it wasn't as bad because, you know, I think it was because it was more, not so much new because we'd had it on the original Xbox, but it was more developed on the 360. You know, the Xbox Live had really evolved, and so I just found that people were a lot more receptive, a lot more friendly. You didn't have as much abuse, but over the years as it went on, it did get worse. And so I just got to the point, I just don't play online now. I won't pay the Xbox Live fee, and PlayStation I don't even bother with because even though it's free, I'm just never that. I can honestly say when I play modern games, I never think about the multiplayer. I buy a game and all I'm interested in is the story. Is the story good? Is the gameplay good? You know, is the game working well? Is it broken? You know, is it fun to play through? Am I enjoying the experience? Do I care about the characters? You know, is the soundtrack good? Is the surround sound well used? I really don't care about the multiplayer at all. It's just not something that interests me in the slightest. And it's the same goes for DLC. I've always found that that's a complete waste of money and a complete waste of time. You know, especially, I'd say there are certain DLCs which make sense, but to me I would never pay the money because I don't like digital distribution anyway. I don't see the point in it. You know, such as Alan Wake, they released episodic content which made total sense to me, and that's a good use of DLC. When you have things like map packs, outfits, weapons, that's bullshit. To me, that's just conning the customer. That's just, I mean, it's not conning the customer in the sense that you've got a choice to buy it. Obviously, you don't have to buy it. But to me, it's just like the company's just taking the piss and just saying, like, you know, we're just going to squeeze every single last, you know, penny, pound, dollar, cent, euro, whatever we can get, we're going to squeeze it out of the customer, because we know that people are, I wouldn't say stupid enough, but we know that there are consumers out there that will buy a bloody outfit for a character, or they'll buy a better gun or a better sword, and I just find that crazy. I mean, you know, if you do that, that's cool and that's totally fine as long as you're enjoying the experience. I personally will never see the point in doing that, and I never will do that. It's the same with map packs. As I don't play online, it doesn't really make any difference to me. I can totally understand why people buy those, because obviously I could understand if you're playing with friends regularly and one of your friends buys the latest map pack, then the rest of of his friends, you and the other people, will want to buy the same map pack so that you can all play the same maps. That makes total sense, and that's quite clever of the companies to do that. I just don't ever see the point in DLC and digital distribution in general, like downloadable games. I just can't be bothered. I just don't see any need to do it, because I've always thought, well, what if your hard drive corrupts, or like now PlayStation, you can only download the game twice. It used to be, I think it was 5 times before, but now you can only do it twice. So that's a bit ridiculous. And if you change consoles, say your console dies and you buy a new one, you can download it again. But if in the future, it's a few years down the line, that console dies, you can't download it again. You have to re-buy it. I mean, that's not on. That's totally out of order. When you buy something, you own it. But unfortunately, in the modern era with Microsoft and Sony, that's not the case. You don't own it. You have no rights to the even if you buy a physical disc, you have no rights to that disc. Apparently, that's not yours to do what you wish with, which I find absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm not saying that you should obviously upload it to the internet and allow people to download it for free. Of course not. But I mean, as far as like if you buy a music CD, the fact that you can't rip it to a digital device, it's still illegal. They are changing that in this country, and in the UK they are relaxing the law so that you can do that now. But it always seems a bit stupid to me. It's like, how can you dictate to me what I do with my content when I buy it? It's bullshit. I don't understand the logic in that. So yeah, I'm getting a bit off topic there. But yeah, for me, current gen gaming, all about a single player game. I've never got as frustrated as a lot of people I see online do get frustrated about the way that the companies are ripping everybody off and squeezing every last penny out of us. And the online codes, the online passes, the DLCs, all of that sort of stuff. They've never really affected me that much, because to me it's a single player. That's all I care about. I pay my £40, or if I wait and get it cheaper, I pay a bit less, and I play the single player experience, and I put it back on the shelf with the rest of the games. And if it's a good game like Uncharted, I'll play through it again and again and again, because it's so good. But I'd have to say that this generation, there are a very small handful of games that I would play through more than once, because they are story based and they're not really the kind of games that I can see the point of playing through again. Uncharted, for some reason, because the story is so good and I enjoy it so much and I love the characters, I'm always willing to go back and play through it again, and the gameplay is solid, so it's always an enjoyable experience to watch the same cutscenes over again, to enjoy the story, to play the game. But a lot of games, I don't really have any interest in going back and play again. Call of Duty and stuff you can, because I mean that's just, pick up and play whenever you can be asked. It's just one of them games, quick 5 minutes here, quick 5 minutes there, and that's cool. But yeah, I mean, I just don't really see the point in all this online stuff. I mean, personally, the only thing that really pisses me off more than anything about modern gaming is something that I saw Ninja Bear Hug losing his patience with the other day, which was really funny because he does exactly what I do. And that is Sony PlayStation 3 and their updates. And I hate this so much. And I know Xbox do it as well. When you put a game in, you buy a game day one, launch day, you pay £40, $60, put the game in your machine. First thing it does is, right, we've got to update that. Why? Why is the game not complete on the disc? If it's an update for the multiplayer, I should be given the option to say no, because I'm not a multiplayer gamer and I don't give a shit about updating it. I should be able to have the option. Now, Microsoft, it updates like that, it's done, couple of seconds, you're in the game. Sony, it can take like 15, sometimes 30 minutes, depending on the size of the file. And being in the UK and the broadband is a bit crap in the rural areas, and around the UK speeds vary. And so it can be quite frustrating. You're just sitting there looking at the screen, waiting for an update. And then when it updates, then it has to install. So you do that, and you go, okay. And then some games on PlayStation, you have to sync your trophies, which takes a couple of seconds, but it's still annoying. It gets in the way. And then other games on PlayStation, and same on Xbox, you have installs, where they install some of the data from the game to improve the loading times during gameplay, which is a good thing, of course. But on Microsoft's side, Xbox allows you to have the option to say yes or no. Sony don't, they make it a mandatory install. And so you can sit there for like half an hour to an hour sometimes before you even get to play the game or get to see the menu screen, which is ridiculous. You shouldn't be having that. You should be able to just put the game in and play the bloody thing. There's a lot to be said for the Wii. For all the criticism the Wii gets, with the Wii you get the game, you put it in your machine, you press a button, and there's your menu. You're in the game. There's no messing around. It's really, really simple, and that's the way gaming should be, the way it used to be. And that frustrates me a lot. I think when it comes to the next generation of consoles, I'll get a Wii U, that's definite. I was going to get a PS4 day one. I probably still will, because I don't, other than, you know, if they'd gone digital distribution, I wouldn't have touched it. Same with the 360 or 720, whatever it's going to be called. But because it's going to be a normal console, should we put it that normal, as in like it's going to be a media-based console, I will get a PS4, and I'll probably end up getting a 720 later down the line when, you know, there's decent games for it and I've got the money. But I mean, after that, I think the future of gaming is going to be Nintendo at this rate, because Nintendo have come into a lot of flack for having a really bad online service with the Wii, and for not really understanding modern gaming and how multiplayer online components is important. But I think if you look at it really, for us lot at least anyway, Nintendo is the future, because Nintendo, being in the dark ages and not understanding 21st century gaming, is a good thing, because for the next couple of generations at least, we should get physical media. I don't think they're ever going to go down the digital distribution. If they ever do go down that route, it'll be a long way in the future, which would be an absolutely fantastic thing for gamers, because, you know, for gamers and collectors, we ain't got to worry about this digital crap, and we can just play our games and enjoy them the way they're meant to be enjoyed. You know, I'm just constantly fed up with update after update, and, you know, it's just ridiculous. It's like, make a game, set a time limit, and get the game finished within that time limit. And if it takes a bit longer, it takes a bit longer. But make sure the game is completely finished before releasing it to the public. Do not, you know, well, this is more to publishers. Do not force developers to meet a deadline, knowing full well they can't meet that deadline, just because you know that you can patch the game later on, and that gamers can't do nothing about it. All they can do is just moan about it, and it's really bloody frustrating, because we shouldn't have to have these broken games when we're paying this amount of money. When you're charging £40 or $60 for a game on day one, that's a lot of money for someone to pay on one game. So if they're paying for that game, they should get a really good quality, solid, well-built experience. They should not be getting a broken game with glitches and bugs that needs to be patched in the future. And then you do find with some games, they patch them and they still don't fix the bugs, and they have to have another patch and another patch and another patch and another patch. And it's like, why? Why can't you just get these games working in the first place? You know, online in general has ruined gaming in that respect, because it's made it too easy for publishers to force developers to get games out early, and therefore just patch them in the future and not worry about it. And, you know, the level of quality has gone down, where you don't get that with Nintendo. You buy a game and generally it works perfect. You don't really get that many problems. You don't hear that many complaints. I'm sure there are problems with certain games, but you don't get as many bugs as you do on a PlayStation 3 or a 360. And so for me personally, online aside, I'm always about single player, so I've not really been affected that much this generation. And so for me, I really still do enjoy modern gaming. However, when you play retro games, you realise how much modern gaming isn't as good, just because there's such a variety of different genres back then to choose from when you go back and collect these games. And the difficulty level's better as well. There's more of a challenge, and they're actually more challenging instead of hard. Whereas modern games, a lot of developers don't seem to understand how to make a game challenging. They just make it balls hard, so that you can't complete the game and you get frustrated and turn the game off, which is something that obviously as a developer you don't want the person to do, because they're not going to experience your game. And so I don't understand that. It's like when they send like ever spawning, what's the word? I can't think of. Damn, that's annoying when that happens in your mid-sentence, it just goes blank. You know, they're hordes of enemies basically. They just keep respawning the enemy constantly. Waves, that's the word I was thinking of. Waves of ever spawning waves of enemies, just to compensate and to make the game difficult. It doesn't make the game difficult, it makes the game frustrating. It makes you want to throw the joypad across the room, turn your console off and not play that game again, or play something different. So I don't understand the logic in that, but there you go. So yeah, that's my take on current gen anyway. Now, the other thing that Alex was talking about, which was really interesting, I thought was a great point, because I've never heard anyone say this before, and it actually makes a lot of sense. He was talking about older consoles like Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo, etc. And developers actually making brand new games for those consoles now, not homebrew, but actually like Sega or Nintendo or, you know, Rare or whoever, bringing out new games for those old consoles to keep them alive and putting them out there on the shelves. And I think that's a really, really good idea, and it makes a lot of sense. As Alex said, you know, it's better than like say Sega, for instance. If they bring out Dreamcast games, it's a less of an investment and less of a risk than to spend billions trying to, you know, create, market and promote a brand new console. And it makes a lot of sense, I think. I think if they just made like a small number of games, you know, a very small number, I don't know, so like 500,000 copies or something, just very limited amounts, put them out there just to test the water to see if there is actually a market for it, and go from there. And if they sell well and they all sell out straight away, they know there's a market, and then they can continue on. I think it'd be really good. The only question I have is with the Dreamcast as well, has its own particular media form. Weren't they GD-ROMs? I think that's what they were called. So they weren't CDs or DVDs. I don't understand technical side of things, so I'm just going by what I understand. So are those formats still around? Would Sega be able to create those discs anymore? I don't know. I don't know if it's viable. Yeah, I'm sure with like cartridge-based systems, it'd be quite easy to manufacture cartridges again. It's just, I don't know if the cost would be too high to get back into that. That could be a little difficult. I think with PlayStation 1, you've only got to use CDs, so that'd be easy because CDs are still quite easily available. Same as original Xbox, you can get a disc for that. And PlayStation 2, so DVDs and CDs, piece of piss to get hold of. So, but yeah, I think it'd be really, really cool to go into a shop and see current brand new games for older systems. I think that'd be a really interesting thing to try and see how it takes off, see if people are interested enough to go and buy them. And I just think, when Alex said it, I did think, but would that devalue the price of retro games, of games that were released years ago? But then I thought, no, it wouldn't, because you're still buying the game off the internet for a ridiculous price, because they are the original game that was released back 10, 15, 20 years ago in mint condition, so you're still going to have to pay a valuable price, which, I don't really see them being devalued. So I think, yeah, Alex, that's a really good idea, mate, and I would like to see that happen. I think that'd be really, really cool. And the other thing was, he picked up some games at the end of the video, and he was talking about Rage and how it had dropped from $60 to $14, which is an absolutely insane price drop. What is going on with the price drops? We all know that, like, recently in the last few years, there's no point in buying a game on day one, because within a couple of months, it's usually 2 or 3 months, they will drop down to half price, and then eventually they'll drop down even less. But it seems lately, prime examples have been Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Within a couple of weeks, people have been reporting that they've been buying the game from Amazon, I think it was, for £22. So it's dropped down to nearly half price within a couple of weeks, which is ridiculous. Saints Row the Third, I saw a company selling through Amazon Marketplace yesterday, selling brand new copies for PS3 and Xbox for £30, and that's only about 2 or 3 weeks old. It's absolutely insane. It's like, developers complain about the used game market and how they're losing money. And I think, well, surely you should enforce something whereby your games are sold at £40 for a lot longer than a month or a couple of weeks, because you're going to lose money, and people aren't going to want to buy your games day one. They're going to wait a couple of months, wait till they can get it for like £10 or £15, because why would they bother paying £40 when they don't need to? So I think that's something that developers need to look into. You look at Nintendo and their first party titles, they don't drop. Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 are still around the £25 to £30 mark last time I checked. They're still, they're high price games still, and they've been out for ages. Nintendo games have that quality level, so maybe it's something that developers need to look at, and they need to enforce more, and publishers as well in particular, because obviously they're the ones that are putting the games out there. But yeah, that's my thoughts anyway, guys. So I'll be interested to hear what you guys think, and obviously if you want to post a video response, please post it to Bluetonic78's video. I'll put a link for the video in the description, and I'll post this video as a response to Alex's video as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all again soon.